Good afternoon. We're going to start in just a few short minutes. Just so you know, we are live broadcasting today on YouTube. So as soon as the audiovisual staff tell me that we're ready to roll, we'll get started. Okay, welcome everybody. We are now starting. We are live broadcasting on YouTube. So welcome to today's National Archives Know Your Records program. We are live broadcasting from the National Archives building in Washington, D.C. My name is Audrey Amidon, and I'm so pleased to see you here today. So before we get started, I'd like to cover a few items so you know how to participate in today's event. For those of you here on site, we will take your questions at the end of the presentation. We ask that you use these microphones here in the aisles so that we can capture you on the video. Also, for those of you who are watching on the YouTube website, you can also participate and ask questions. You first have to log in and then use the chat feature, submit your questions there, and then I'll read the questions to the presenters. You'll also find on this webpage several hyperlinks. One will take you to these presentation slides, and there are 2 handouts, and we also have live captioning, so if you need that service, please find that under the video screen. So, humor me, I have 3 presenters, so 3 biographies to read, so please allow me to introduce them now. Today we have 3 preservation specialists from the National Archives Motion Picture Lab. They are sharing federal government films they love, from the historically significant to the delightfully misguided. Great. Criss Kovac has worked as the supervisor of the lab since 2005. Since coming to the National Archives, she has implemented motion picture digitization and restoration to complement photochemical preservation of the National Archives collection. She holds degrees from Oberlin College, Nottingham Trent University, and the L. Jeffrey Selznick School of Film Preservation. Audrey Amidon is a preservation specialist in the lab, where she and her colleagues perform conservation and preservation work on motion pictures held across the National Archives. Before joining the lab in 2006, Audrey worked with the Donald B. McMillan Film Collection at the Perry McMillan Arctic Museum at Bowdoin College. Heidi Holmstrom is a preservation specialist in the lab. Heidi completed her archival education in Western Washington University, earning a master's in history with a certificate in archives and records management. She has worked in the National Archives Motion Picture Preservation Lab since 2009. And now for our presentation, Favorite Films of the National Archives Motion Picture Lab. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming our presenters, Heidi Holmstrom, Audrey Amidon, and Criss Kovac. Ladies.
Hello, I'm Heidi Holmstrom, and my colleagues and I are very pleased that you could join us this afternoon. We put together this presentation based on films that we've worked on that we've really enjoyed, or films that surprised us. So we hope you will also enjoy them. The National Archives has one of the 3 largest film collections in the United States. The other big ones are the Library of Congress and UCLA. We have well over 400,000 reels of film, and our holdings also include a great deal of audio and video material. And of course, the size of our collection is still growing every year. We have a lot of films that were created by federal agencies. That's where the bulk of them come from. So this includes military films, public service announcements, and educational films. We also have films that are collected by federal agencies, so they could have been collected in the course of an investigation, or some agencies also had film libraries. So we have a very large collection from the CIA Film Library. We also have materials that were donated to the National Archives because they reflect United States history or the activities of the government. So an example of that is the Universal Newsreel collection coming from Universal Studios, which is now a big public domain news film collection available to the public. You're going to see examples of all three of these categories in our presentation. So, unfortunately, motion picture film does deteriorate, but it can last a really long time when it's stored properly. And that means low temperatures and low humidity. We have walk-in film freezers that we store a lot of our film in, so it's stabilized and it will kind of stay the way it is without getting much worse until we can handle it. And we preserve the deteriorating films photochemically, printing to a new piece of film stock. So if we have something cellulose acetate deteriorating, we'll put it onto a polyester film base that's much more stable. And we also digitize films for access, which in turn helps to protect the original. The National Archives is one of the only institutions with a film preservation lab in-house, and we're also one of the last film labs in the country. I think there's fewer than a dozen film labs left, and for comparison, in the 1980s, there were 5 film labs alone in Washington, D.C. And the following video, it's going to give you an overview of all of the services that we provide to the National Archives using the World War II film The Negro Soldier as an example.
Welcome to the Motion Picture Preservation Lab. We have 6 enthusiastic staff members with the specialized skills that enable the National Archives to preserve and protect America's historic motion picture collection. To do this, we evaluate the condition of our original films and prepare them for cold storage so that we can keep them as long as possible. We copy to newer film stock or digital formats when deterioration of the original puts the images at risk of being lost. Every day, we handle films that might not exist if care had not been taken to retain and preserve them. We work on material that covers a wide range of content and condition, from deteriorated 16mm color footage from World War II to pristine camera negatives shot for education. We're working on The Negro Soldier.
When we inspect films, we're looking for signs of deterioration. We're measuring acidity levels and shrinkage, and we make repairs so that the film is ready to be transferred or played back. Sometimes we can spend an entire day repairing a single reel of film. We're identifying film elements in order to make sure that the original is given the highest level of protection and that only duplicate copies are available in the research room. We inspect about 4 million feet of film a year, but even at that rate, it would take us almost 300 years to look at every reel in the collection.
As long as we can purchase film stock, we'll continue to do film-to-film preservation. Digital is a great tool for providing access and doing restoration work, but it's not a great tool for long-term preservation. Whether we're going from film to film or digitizing for access, there are certain steps we always go through. For each title, we do all of the inspection and hands-on repair of the original elements to make sure they won't be damaged if we run them on the equipment. For reels we're printing, we also time them to ensure that the new copies will remain faithful to the original copy. We clean them and then print them on our printers. We have a wide range of printers. We have one that was made in the 30s, one that was made in the 50s, and one that is relatively new to the archives. We choose the printer based on the condition of the original film because the printers have different handling capabilities. We then process the film and do quality control to make sure that everything has turned out the way it's supposed to. For The Negro Soldier, we're creating a new film copy and a digitally restored copy. With the film copy, we can place it on a shelf in a managed storage environment, and it will last upwards of 500 years. With the digital file, if it's not managed and migrated, it may only last up to 5 years.
Although we still use film stock as our primary preservation format, motion pictures are being digitized in the lab for a variety of purposes. When researchers ask to see films that do not already have reference copies available, we transfer the reels on our HD scanner and make DVDs for public access. We save the files for later use in the National Archives online catalog or to be posted on social media sites. In addition, we digitize high-profile titles and films that are too fragile to be copied on our printers at greater resolutions of 2K or 4K for access and preservation.
This is our preservation level film scanner. It creates digital files that preserve and protect the essence and the characteristics of the film stock itself, namely the film grain, the color properties, and the saturation, density, and contrast levels that exist in the film original are carried forward to the digital file. Now, we've used this equipment to scan films such as The March and The Negro Soldier, which have stable film elements, but generate enough public interest to warrant high-resolution film scanning. This is our digital workstation. Once the reels have been scanned, we use software to do overall density and color corrections. We also use tools like a scratch tool and a dust tool on a scene-by-scene basis if needed. Once preservations have been completed, we preserve the raw and the corrected file permanently.
It has been inspected, cleaned, and copied. It is ready for its next step, description.
Okay, so here's how we're going to do this. We have 10 of our favorite films. We'll be sort of rotating through, so you'll see different people introducing each one, or well, not each one, there's only 3 of us. But we'll be talking about some of our own personal favorite films. They're not in any order, they're not chronological. We just tried to organize them in a way that made sense. This first one's silent, so I'll just be talking over it. This is a film that I encountered when I first started at the archives in 2006, and it, to me, was my first realization that, you know, whatever I thought I knew about American history, there was always going to be a lot more that would surprise me, and I wouldn't see it coming. This film is the perfect example of that. These are young boys that are headed off to summer camp in 1937. They're leaving New York City. They get on a bus. They start setting up their camp. When it came down for preservation, we were actually making new film copies because the original was in poor condition. That's when I looked at it and I realized that there was a lot more going on there, because as you'll see shortly, pretty soon after they raised the American flag at what I thought was a Boy Scout camp, they then raised a Nazi flag. So that, you know, that took a little bit of research to actually go look up what the film was. You know, we have records of that to see what it was. And I found out that these were films that were created by the German-American Bund. They were a cultural organization. They claimed to be a cultural organization for German Americans, which was at that time the biggest ethnic group in the country. But they actually had some pretty strong pro-Nazi leanings. They even held a very large pro-Nazi rally at Madison Square Garden in 1939 with 20,000 people in attendance. And because this is America, this was okay at the time, but then once we got into a war with Germany, it was no longer okay to be supporting that side, and we very quickly, the American government very quickly shut them down. So they seized all of their records, and that's how we ended up with these films. The Office of Alien Property held the films and used them as evidence against the leaders of the German-American Bund, who were Nazis, essentially. They were patriotic Americans in the sense that they thought that America would be better if it went under Germany. So that's not generally how a lot of us see this, you know, see patriotism. So there were a lot of these Hitler Youth camps. You can see, if you look closely, you can see the symbols of the Hitler Youth on their uniforms. They're not regular Boy Scout uniforms. They were around the Northeast. There were actually 70 local chapters of the German-American Bund, and the camps were scattered around the country. A few of them were in other parts of the country. There's a bit more. So the films were held by the textual unit because they were along with this evidence. This is a lot of times how films come to us, is that they're just sort of buried in with some textual, maybe a box. You know, there was a box of evidence, and most of it was paper, but then there were films. And then in 1980, a textual archivist found it, realized it needed to be taken care of better, and transferred it over to the motion picture unit, which is how it ended up coming to us in 2006. So I just think that's one of the creepiest things I've ever seen, to see the American flag alongside 2 Nazi flags. Another one of the films that isn't here, this is just clips from one of them. The German intertitle actually translates to "German boy, you also belong to us." To make it clear that you weren't, you know, you were German American. That was sort of the viewpoint of the German American Bund. And this is what young boys in summer camp did in 1937. Apparently, boxing, and I just don't think that would be allowed today. It looks very dangerous.
All right, the next clip I'm going to show you is a film that we refer to as the Yellowstone Kodacolor. Some of our favorite films are based not only on the content, but also on the uniqueness of the original. And I'll go ahead and play this while I'm talking because it's also silent. In the case of the Yellowstone Kodacolor, which we believe to be the earliest color home movie footage of Yellowstone, it was shot on a rare film stock that was manufactured between 1928 and 1932 called Kodacolor. And Kodacolor was the precursor to Kodak's most popular film stock, Kodachrome. What you see here on the right is how Kodacolor appears to the naked eye, and on the left is the Kodacolor decoded with algorithms developed at Video and Film Solutions in Rockville. Looking at the film, you can see vertical lines running the length of the frame, and within those lines are billions of tiny lenticules, or prisms. The film was shot through a special filter, and to see the color, the developed film had to be projected back through the same filter. Few film labs in the country have the ability to preserve this type of film, but thanks to a grant from the National Film Preservation Foundation and the stellar software developed at Video and Film Solutions, we are able to bring this footage into full color for the public in time for the centennial of Yellowstone and the National Park Service. And I will say that if you look at the clip on YouTube, it's actually easier to see the difference between the color. It's a little bit washed out on this particular screen. I don't think we can turn the lights down. Oh, it plays through twice. Oh, there we go. Is that better?
So for our next film, we're going to give you an episode of Private Snafu. Some of you may be familiar with him, and even if you've never seen a Private Snafu cartoon, there are some really crucial elements that you'll recognize. One, Snafu sounds like Bugs Bunny and looks like Elmer Fudd, and that's because the cartoons were made by the Warner Brothers studio during World War II for the U.S. Army. And Mel Blanc is voicing Snafu, and I imagine the cartoonist who did Elmer Fudd actually must have drawn him. They were made to be included in a newsreel series called the Army-Navy Screen Magazine that was shown to troops all throughout the war. Snafu was supposed to be a lighter, more fun way of educating them. They got a lot of educational films or just training films were made during World War II, and a lot of them can be dry. So there were the films, the Army made an attempt, the military made an attempt to make them more entertaining in order to get the message across. Snafu in particular, he would mess things up. He would usually get told not to do something, and then he would do it, and it would then become such disastrous results that either he died or was blown up, or he killed an entire ship's worth of people. Things like that. That's usually how these always end, and then you learn the extreme consequences that can result from not doing what you're told. This one in particular is one of our favorites. You might have heard of Theodore Siegel. He's Dr. Seuss, and during the World War II, he actually worked for the Army Signal Corps, and he wrote several of the Snafu cartoons. You will recognize his rhyming pattern, and it's absolutely unmistakable. So enjoy. We're watching this one in its entirety.
'Twas a bright sunny day, with the air fresh and clean. Not a rumor was stirring, except in the latrine.
Hiya, Snafu. What's new?
Oh, nothing much. Nice day.
Nice day for a bombing.
Yeah, nice bombing weather. Bombing weather. Bombing weather.
Sounds harmless enough. Innocent stuff. But let's take a look in and find out what's cooking.
Bombing weather. Bombing weather. Bombing weather. Bombing weather. Bombing weather.
Just between you and me, pal, I hear we're in for a bombing.
The hot air is blowing. A rumor is growing.
They're gonna bomb us. They're gonna bomb us. Hear about the bombing. Hear about the bombing. They bombed us. Did you hear about the terrible bombing last night? Well, I heard it on good authority. That was harmless.
Balloon juice. It's phony, but it makes nice baloney. That's right. Exaggerate it. Stretch it. Multiply it. Now shoot off your face. And baloney is flying all over the place.
In Germany. Worst air raid of the war. Yeah. They blasted hell out of Brooklyn Bridge. Coney Island was wiped out. What's the matter with our planes? They popped them off like kites. 10 parachute troops landed right on the White House lawn. The Florida coast is lousy with invasion barges.
Just a minute, Bud. Did you know that we have nothing to fight with? That our shells are all duds?
And furthermore, the jobs are in California.
may surprise you, but they're attacking this very camp.
The Russians have surrendered.
The British are quitting!
The Chinese gave up.
It's all over. We've lost the war.
Rumors! Nice weather for a rumor, ain't it?
All right, well, continuing on with our theme of World War II here, a lot of people don't realize that the Archives holds many Oscar-winning and nominated titles. The True Glory won the Academy Award for Best Documentary Feature in 1945 and was a joint production done between Britain and the U.S. to capture the war effort from an international perspective of troops on the ground and those at the home front. In 2014, we completed a full digital restoration for the 70th anniversary of D-Day. The full restoration took 240 hours, and took 240 hours to complete. Is now our 4th most watched video on NARA's YouTube channel. I will apologize a bit for the choppiness of the clips. The entire film is 80 minutes long, and to condense it down into a few minutes was a challenge.
Now our people bent to the construction of a steel array and took the builder's hammer in their hands. It seemed almost as though the sun stood still till our free peoples, full of rage and power, heaved through the air the ponderous spear of war. This is our people's story, in their words.
I remember coming over, the worst thing about the trip was you didn't know where you were going. Wherever it was, you'd be a stranger, and nobody likes that. That ship was loaded from stem to stern with sad sacks. Around the 3rd day out, things got pally. Like the fella said, we're all in the same boat. The comic.
I was a pre-med student at Johns Hopkins in civilian life. Now I do know a little something about anatomy. And I say it is scientifically impossible for the human body to stand up to the training we receive.
Here, listen to this, out of one of them army pamphlets. To a young man, soldiering in the army of today offers exceptional advantages and opportunities, such as physical training, foreign travel, sport, and many other facilities which are normally denied to those engaged in the majority of civilian occupations. The majority of occupations in civil life become monotonous, to say the least. But in the army, life is so varied that there is little or no prospect of a monotonous or irksome time.
Things were getting tougher every trip. More ground defenses, more night fighters, more crews not coming back.
It was a funny sort of feeling marching down to the ships. We'd done it plenty of times before, of course, on schemes and that kind of thing. They didn't tell us this was the big show. Might have been just another exercise. Some of the chaps cracked gags. They wasn't very comic, but we laughed. I think we all guessed. The general feeling was, okay, if this is it, let's get in there and get it over with. Waiting always got on my nerves. Even waiting for a bus, never could stand it. Well, after a bit, our ship found its place in the middle of all the rest of the stuff. And there we stayed, for days.
a bloody bit of bad luck to be bumped off now when the war's nearly over.
I spent 4 years in the infantry, and I saw my share. And during that time, I only met 3 men that liked to fight. And they were a little cracked, but it had to be done. Now that it's over, I feel good, except for one thing. All this talk about World War III. These big pessimists that talk so easy about another war just didn't see this one, or enough of it.
So now we're going to move on to a different kind of military film. This is a series of 3 films called Military Etiquette and Grooming, produced in 1970 and 1971 for the Women's Army Corps. And the films in this series are titled The Pleasure of Your Company, Look Like a Winner, and Minding Your Military Manners. The films are intended to teach grooming, grace, manners, and social behavior to the women who were a part of the military. The film treatment, which we have in the production file, states that one principal point of emphasis, which will be made in all the films, will be the repeated insistence on femininity, both in appearance and manner. The point will be made that there is no conflict between functioning efficiently as a military servicewoman and in maintaining one's feminine identity at all times. In fact, Minding Your Military Manners argues that femininity is even more important than competence. So no matter how efficient and knowledgeable Carol is, she won't get that promotion because she walks like a man. But I'm going to be showing some clips from Look Like a Winner and The Pleasure of Your Company. So it's about good grooming and then also dating etiquette.
Well, ladies, you've come a long way, no question about it. You have more to say these days about your education, your appearance, your occupation, and your role in life than any young women have ever had in history. Yes, you have a voice in your own destiny. You have it in civilian life as well as in the military.
The best part, I didn't, this blind date that...
That's right. There's a lot you can say and do about who you are, where you're going, and how you look, especially in the military. With all the demands a girl has on her time, it's pretty hard.
I know it's important, but when am I supposed to do all those things? It's all I have to do now. Sometimes I don't even have time to breathe.
Nobody has to convince me. I'm just as interested in good grooming as anybody else. But what am I going to do with his hair?
Oh, that's all right. But this skin of mine, it's really driving me crazy. I mean, can I help it if I hit him with the skin? Hi, girl. Hi.
A matter of luck, plain luck.
Some of this is true, and some is pure nonsense. Luck doesn't have much to do with it at all. Sure, Susan Mayfield looks good, but she never won any beautiful baby contest. She had to work for it. It takes more than luck to appear bright, well-groomed, and smart-looking. Good grooming and grace in uniform covers a lot of territory. Cleanliness, femininity, makeup, good health habits, and the proper fit and care of your uniform. A lot to remember and a fair amount to do, but they pay off in a number of important ways. They pay off in social acceptance, career advancement, and in personal popularity.
The orders got so mixed up, like it was just terrible.
Well, that shouldn't give you any trouble, Sandy. That's really no problem at all. You can find out all about that kind of stuff in any book of etiquette.
I can?
Sure. Here, I'll explain to you how it works.
All you have to remember is to always tell your escort what you'd like to have.
and then let him place the order for you. That's right, Sandy. Just tell Frank.
I would like the shrimp cocktail, please. Roast beef with a baked potato and a tossed salad.
Very good. Good evening, sir. Madam. You care to order now?
Yes, the lady would like the shrimp cocktail, roast beef, medium rare, the baked potato, and a tossed salad.
What sort of dressing would you like on that?
Oh, Russian, please.
Russian dressing.
Yeah, my mother graduated from high school in 1970, so this really is just from a single generation ago. So a number of the films that I've picked to show here are from the 70s, so I guess that might be my favorite decade for government films. We have a lot of NASA films at the National Archives, and they're often fascinating to work on. And because it's NASA, the films sometimes have famous narrators like Basil Rathbone or even Ricardo Montalban, who was Star Trek's Khan. And when working on films from the 60s, I often find myself caught up in the excitement of the space race. So Moonwalk 1 was a film directed by Theo Kamecki for NASA and released in 1970. And unlike most government films, it played in commercial theaters. And in this clip, you're going to see Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin's broadcast from the surface of the moon. And you also get a sense of the global context in which the Apollo 11 mission occurred.
Beautiful, just beautiful. How is the quality of the TV?
Oh, it's beautiful, Mike. It really is.
I'd like to evaluate the various paces that a person can traveling on the surface. You do have to be. All right, you do have to be rather careful to keep track of where your center of mass is. Sometimes it takes about 2 or 3 paces to make sure that you've got your feet underneath you. And about 2 or 3 or maybe 4 easy paces can bring you to a fairly smooth stop. Like a football player, you just have to put out to the side and cut a little bit. So-called kangaroo hop does work, but it seems your forward stability is not quite as good. Would get rather tiring after several hundred feet. But this may be a function of the suit as well as lack of gravity force here.
American, this has to be the proudest day of our lives, and for people all over the world.
I think it's great, really great for the whole world.
This means a lot to all the countries, not just for America.
And being out of it and being closest to the moon makes us realize that we're all human beings together.
I hope this brings unity amongst all countries.
And I just hope it won't help you from solving all internal problems you may have.
Well, I think it's a waste of a lot of money that could be used for something else. They holler about people being on starvation.
This huge amount of money Americans spend to see what the moon is like. What's for?
It's disgusting. It's a pity they haven't got something else to do. Be better if they'd done something for the old ones.
What if Columbus had decided he couldn't get the money from Isabella? Where would we be?
That's one of God's celestial planets, and he put it in the sky for a purpose, and he didn't put it up there for people to clutter up like they have the earth.
Myself, I'm really interested to see what's up there. And
we must open all secrets that are opening to us throughout the ages.
I think that the dream of the man from the beginning of the human race is coming now.
Alone, 45 miles above the moon's surface, Michael Collins completed an orbit every 2 hours. He listened to the progress of the moonwalk and awaited the moment when his companions on the surface would lift off to rendezvous with him. For 30 times he saw the Earth rise over the horizon of the moon. 12,000 miles of twilight, a line that divides night from day for 3 billion people on spaceship Earth.
As much as Heidi might find herself drawn to the films of the 70s, I find myself drawn to the civil rights events of the 60s. And The March is by far and away my favorite film at the National Archives. I could probably do an entire presentation on this film alone. The production, distribution, copyright status, history of the director, and story of the preservation of the film are intricate and complex in their own right. In 2013, we completed a full restoration of the film for the 50th anniversary of the March on Washington. And while the film is best known for the footage of Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech, what I wanted to show you today are my favorite scenes surrounding the speech that capture the effort and the joy, the fear, jubilation, suspense, and relief surrounding that entire day. It gives me goosebumps and makes me tear up nearly every time I watch it.
On August 28, 1963, 200,000 Americans came to Washington to demand complete freedom for everyone. This is the story of that day. They came from Los Angeles and San Francisco, or about the distance from Moscow to Bombay. They came from Cleveland, from Chicago, or about the distance from Buenos Aires to Rio de Janeiro. They came from Jackson, Mississippi, from Birmingham, Alabama, or about the distance from Johannesburg to Dar es Salaam. By the end of August 1963, in some places of the United States, a Negro could not go to school where he chose, eat where he wished, build his home where it pleased him, or find jobs for which he was qualified. He had been insulted, beaten, jailed, drenched with water, chased by dogs. But he was coming to Washington, he said, to swallow up hatred and love, to overcome violence by peaceful protest. In New York, volunteers worked for 2 days and 2 nights to make lunches for the march. They made 80,000 cheese sandwiches.
Any questions?
Wake up, girl.
Or anything that's bothering you, be sure you contact your captains for anything, and they will take it from there. Do not try to do anything on your own, because the minute you do, you will be upsetting the purpose of this march. The whole thing is an orderly, conducted march.
praised this day and said that there had been a new awakening in the conscience of the nation. Others called it a national disgrace. In the wake of this day, more violence was to come, more hatred. But in the long history of man's cruelty to man, this was a day of hope.
So at the National Archives, we also hold a lot of public service announcements, or PSAs. These are commercials produced by the government to promote the public good. You may be familiar with Smokey Bear, who is a frequent star of PSAs on fire prevention, but I've seen PSAs on traffic safety, energy conservation, even on how to adopt a wild horse. But my favorite PSAs star the Caped Crusader. In this PSA, Batman, played by Adam West, encourages school children to buy war bonds to support the Vietnam War.
Hello, boys and girls. I have a special message for you from the President of the United States. Let me read it to you. I salute the boys and girls who are buying United States savings stamps and bonds through the Treasury's School Savings Program. They're learning the lessons of practical citizenship and of wise money management. And they're giving important support to the cause of freedom and the men who fight for us in Vietnam. That message is on this wallet-size U.S. Savings Bonds pledge card, which you'll get in school as soon as you begin to buy U.S. savings stamps. Let's get started today. What do you say?
And I know that if I was a small child seeing that, I would be very disappointed I was getting a card with Lyndon Johnson instead of Batman on it. But as amazing as that PSA is, even better is the next one, starring Yvonne Craig's Batgirl in support of the federal equal pay law.
A ticking bomb means trouble for Batman and Robin.
Holy, breaking and entering! It's Batgirl!
Quick, Batgirl. Untie us before it's too late.
It's already too late. I've worked for you a long time, and I'm paid less than Robin. Same job, same employer means equal pay for men and women.
No time for jokes, Batgirl.
It's no joke. It's the federal equal pay law.
Holy act of Congress!
If you're not getting equal pay, contact the Wage and Hour Division, U.S. Department of Labor.
So we're stepping back again to World War II. This is an example of a film that was not created by or collected by a federal agency. It was donated because of the historic nature of the footage in here. This was shot by a newsreel cameraman named Jack Lieb. He worked for Hearst News of the Day newsreels, and he was sent to Europe in 1944 so that he could record the events of the Normandy invasion. He landed on Utah Beach on D-Day +1. He had not only his 35mm camera so that he could shoot black and white footage to be included in the newsreels, he also brought with him a 16mm camera and Kodachrome film. So he was shooting color home movie footage the entire time that he was also recording things for public distribution. And he did that because he wanted to be able to show his friends and family what was happening to him over there. I will also say that because this is a professional cameraman, these are probably the best shot home movies that we hold at the National Archives. They're very well shot. Later on, after he returned, Jack Lieb did edit the silent footage, and he used it for lectures that he gave to groups as varied as the National Geographic Society in Washington, D.C., to his daughter's 4th grade class. In 1976, a sound recording was made of him presenting the lecture, and we received both the edited footage and the sound recording. It was a donation to the archives in 1984. Because of this, it's a unique sort of record because we have the original footage that he edited at the time, in the mid-40s, so that recorded what he experienced at the time, but then we have him talking about it later. So the record becomes a mishmash of him recalling things from 20 years later and what he actually saw. It's a really unique record, especially since he was in a non-combat role. Most of what we have, of course, was filmed by military men that were working as cameramen. So we will begin, and you'll hear him speaking. This is just a few clips. The film is 60 minutes long. You can find the entire thing on our YouTube channel.
Here is Pete Carroll and Wes Haynes carrying our own equipment, and the ship is grounded on the beach. The section of the beach we were on was being attacked by enemy fire, and in the previous shot you could see a bomb actually land not too far from where we were. There it is again. And the bulldozers were trying to clear roads to let our jeeps and tanks move forward. And even though it was June, the area was quite cold, as it usually is in that part of Normandy. Of course, the men dug their foxholes a little deeper, and we had the good fortune of finding a concrete wall which helped serve as protection. But even now, we're taking some of our wounded back to the beach so they can be transferred back to England. But when the tide went out, the ships could not come in close, or those that went aground had to wait for high tide to be refloated if they weren't hit. We stayed on the beach the first night and lived in a foxhole, and soon we showed some of the first prisoners taken in the area late the first day who were captured close to the beach and were sent back to England because there was no room to keep them there. And soon we found the prisoners, and I think they took something like 16 or 18,000 men out of the Cherbourg area, and they're still holding their personal belongings, marching toward the beaches because they had to be transported to England and some eventually to the States to be held in prisoner of war camps. And even at this time, those that could talk to us or would talk to us said we'd be pushed back into the channel in less than a week. Of course, at every headquarters area, we found that the Germans had a picture of Herr Hitler, and our boys are using it as a pinboard. Soon we found ourselves in Rambouillet. Rambouillet was 52 kilometers from Paris and was the headquarters for all the correspondents that came there. We see Ernie Pyle again on the left, and George Stevens, the Hollywood director, myself, and of course Pete Carroll. It was shortly after these pictures were taken that Ernie Pyle decided to return back to the States and then went to the Pacific, where he was killed. Soon the people of Paris were out parading again along the Champs-Élysées with their newfound liberty. We discovered that the Eiffel Tower, which was reported destroyed and used for arms, was still intact. And soon I managed to get permission to go up into the Eiffel Tower and see what it looked like from up above. But there was much to be done, and even though Paris looked beautiful, conditions were very poor.
We're closing out today with what's probably sort of the prototypical favorite film of our lab. It's the one that when people see it, they either end up with a smile on their face or a look of confusion. And it's Curious Alice, which, as you might have guessed, is a take on Alice in Wonderland. It was made by the National Institute for Mental Health in 1971 at the front end of a new campaign to promote drug abuse awareness. This was, at the time, we might be used to that there is drug abuse awareness education, but it was a fairly new government effort that they wanted to produce a lot of material that could be distributed to schools. Curious Alice was part of an educational package that was put together for elementary school kids. And it came, you could also acquire an activity book where children could color pictures of drug paraphernalia, like marijuana leaves and smoking materials. And they also had a fill in the blank activity to identify what the drugs were. So there would be a hypodermic needle, and I guess they were supposed to write heroin and some pills, and they were supposed to know that those were barbiturates. These are things that, in general, we wouldn't find appropriate for elementary school children today. You'll see that the animation is fairly beautiful. I mean, we like it. But the educational value and appropriateness for the audience is questionable. First-time viewers are frequently struck by the fact that the psychedelic style kind of makes the drugs look like they could be fun. So, oops, here we go. This is just a little bit of the opening sequence and some of the end. The full film is about 15 minutes.
Oh, I'm late! I'm late! I'm too late!
Hi. You must be the March Hare.
Yeah. My friends, the Dormouse, he's sleeping, and the Hatter, he's traveling.
Can I just sit here a minute? I'm just a little tired.
You ought to have some pep pills, uppers, amphetamines, speed. Make you feel super good. Super good.
Do you feel okay now?
Oh, well, nah. Sometimes you crash. You get kind of sick. And that's scary. You just kind of come all apart inside.
Well, it's very nice of you to offer them to me, but
offered them? Who offered them? These are mine.
Oh, I'm glad you're waking up.
I'm not. Oh, a new face. Do you use barbiturate sleeping pills?
No. Should I?
No. Why in the world would you want to wind up woozy?
Why is a bluebird like a bottle cap?
You shouldn't waste time with riddles that haven't got any answers.
Listen, I can tell you more about time in seconds than you can hear in years. Like time, the
time? What time is it?
Should I know?
Time? It's 6 o'clock. Tea time. Time to take a pill. Dynamite. Dynamite.
Oh, yes.
Keep this under your hat, friend. But she doesn't know what we're doing.
Yes, I do. You live here in this beautiful place. It could be Wonderland, and all you do is take those
pep pills,
sleeping pills,
LSD,
marijuana, heroin.
Stop it! Do you know what you're doing?
Well, what are we doing?
What time is it?
It's 6 o'clock. Tea time. Time to take a pill.
No! Why?
Just take a few amphetamines and you can be like me.
Or freak apart your tender brain by taking LSD.
Sleeping pills are beautiful.
Heroin is king. Everything is clearer now. Just let me do my thing.
You may blow your mind completely, but won't you take the chance?
Will you? Won't you? Will you? Won't you? Won't you join the dance? Will you?
Now, do you know where you are? Go home.
It's too late. It's too late.
No! It's not too late.
Go home. Go home. Go
Okay, well, it's not quite time to go home yet. Thanks again for joining us today to view a very tiny sliver of what the film collection at NARA has to offer. If you are interested in discovering some of your own favorites, you can visit the Motion Picture Research Room at our facility in College Park, Maryland. And for those of you that can't make it out there to visit us in person, you can see a wide selection of films on our YouTube channel, including the full-length versions of everything we've shown you here today. Or you can explore the online catalog. So with that, I'm going to open the session for questions.
I'd like to start, please. And first of all, thank you. You're getting compliments from our online audience, and I'd like to add my own voice. This has been a fascinating way of looking at history. What a great job. At the bottom of each film clip, you had the local identifier number. Is that a good way to find the video on YouTube? Can we just plug in the number?
Yes, you can search for the item number in the search field, and they should pop up. And also for the ones that have actual titles, you can search that way as well.
Fantastic. I do have some more questions from our online audience, but I see we have somebody here who would like to ask a question. And for any of you who are here on site, feel free to ask questions. We do ask you to use the microphone.
Thank you for the presentation and the time spent to find some of the history and background on these films that are your favorites that you shared with us. Most of the time, you probably don't have time to research the films you're looking at. You're trying to correct them for the quality of the film as well as the audio, I assume, as well. You didn't mention anything about that. But is there another part of the archive that is doing that to say, what is this we're looking at? Do we really know, other than on the canister, a date or a name of the film, any other information?
So that's primarily the job of the archivists. We in the lab are doing the hands-on technical work, and then the archivists are the ones that are identifying and describing the films. We end up doing the research. We have a blog, if you want to visit it, called The Unwritten Record. You can search for that and find, or is that the next one? Yeah, Unwritten Record. And so that's usually, we try to highlight films there that we come across, and we'll do a little bit of research and write that up. So that's how we end up doing that.
While we're waiting for other audience members who are on site, we just got a question. I'm going to sort of work backwards. The question is, how much of the collection is donated?
That's a very good question. Percentage-wise, it wouldn't be a significant percentage. We have so many military films and so many NASA films, but we do have some really big collections that were donated in the 1960s, and that includes the Universal Newsreels that Heidi mentioned. Also, a lot of people don't know that Ford Motor Company was actually a big film producer in the teens through the mid-20s because Henry Ford believed in the educational power of films, and he had a newsreel series, and they also had things, short educational films like travelogues. And all of that material was donated to the National Archives in the 1960s as well. Are there other significant? Those are two of the biggest. Oh, the Harmon Foundation. They were an organization that worked to highlight and promote African American art. They had a lot of films that we have. But compared to the bulk of it, which is made by the federal government or acquired by the federal government, that would be small. But it's still a lot because we're a big institution.
Thank you. Appreciate that and finding out about some more collections. Again, as I said, I'm going to work backwards. So if you go back to when you were showing the space films, it really captured one person's imagination. And she's a historian. She says so. She's a little biased. She'd like to see more of them and maybe even ones organized thematically or chronologically. So if someone interested in space films, is there a way to do that? Are they organized thematically or chronologically?
Well, they're organized under the NASA record group, which is 255, and then within that, they're organized by series. So Moonwalk 1 is out of the headquarters series, which is really just chronological from the beginning of the space race. So each film is another stepping stone toward going to the moon. These are all, well, not all of them, but a large number of them are accessible in our catalog. So if you look for record group 255, that would give you everything on NASA. And in the lab, whenever I come across a NASA film, most of them are very interesting, so I am trying to get them up on our YouTube channel and get them out there. Because I really enjoy watching them, and we get a sense that the public enjoys them as well.
But what we could do to make it easier for people in terms of organizing them thematically is we could have a playlist made on the YouTube channel. So maybe we'll do that with the ones that we have transferred more recently that have been uploaded to the YouTube channel. There's no way for us to do something like that with the catalog. That requires the user to search. But we could create a playlist. So we'll work on doing that.
Thank you. That's wonderful. Going back when you first showed, I think it was Rumor, the animated film, the question came in, speaking of Army Navy film magazines in the 1970s, the archive showed a series of them. One of them had cows with animated mouths singing "Don't Fence Me In." Is that segment available?
That sounds like something we need to look for. We might run in, we don't, so the problem there is "Don't Fence Me In" would be a copyrighted song, and so we try to avoid, we don't want to get in trouble with copyright issues, so we avoid things that have an obvious copyright issue. Obviously, there's sometimes things that we don't notice, but that one would probably pass, not pass the, it's got obvious copyright. So, but we want to.
It would be available for viewing in the research room in College Park.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Do we have any more questions? Looks like we have one here in the audience.
Hi, thank you so much. The clips were great, and it's really enticed me to look further. I live in a neighborhood that was significantly burned out in the riots in 1968, and I've been looking for footage of that era, and I've been to various places around town, but I have yet to look at your film archives. How would you suggest that I search, first of all, online, and second of all, at the archives in
well, if you want to come to the research room in College Park, we have really, really great reference help there. But we did recently upload 2 military films. That is the aftermath of the Washington riots. You can find those there. If you go to our YouTube channel and look Washington riots, you'll find those. Those are brand new transfers that we did. Like I said, it's the aftermath, and it's the military that shot it, so you see a lot of Army trucks. Another one that sort of shows the aftermath, there's a film called The People and the Police that was from 1970, I think, that's showing the DC tried to start a pilot project where they were trying to improve community police relations, but it's really nicely shot, and it shows, I mean, because the damage was still there, so you could see the result of what happened in the city in that film. It's a really interesting film. It doesn't have the best result. I mean, the program didn't work. Nobody got along better. It didn't work, but you can see it documents an entire year of them trying to establish this program. And the film was intended to be a prototype so that then it was the Office of Economic Opportunity that made it. They wanted to roll the program out to other cities, but it didn't work, so they didn't end up rolling it out, and they pretty much immediately gave the film to the National Archives. Normally we don't get things for 20 or 30 years, and they wanted that gone immediately. But those are 2 things I can think of that you could look at right now on our YouTube channel. Yeah, I think they're all in the catalog too, but they're definitely, you can easily find them on our YouTube channel. So Washington Riots, if you search that within our YouTube channel, there are 2 reels, and then People and the Police. You're welcome.
If you have a question and don't feel comfortable crawling over the seats, feel free to ask, and I'll ask the presenters to repeat your question. Are there any additional questions from our on-site audience? Please.
Yes, you need to get a researcher card. It's a pretty quick process when you come into the location. I think it's about 15 minutes to a half hour. You fill out you do a little bit of training by computer and fill out some forms, and then they can present you with the card that day.
Great. I'll ask the poll the audience. Do we have time for one more film clip? Yes?
Okay. Do you want to tell them a little bit about it?
Okay, so the last thing we're going to show you is material from a special project that we're working on to digitize World War I and World War II films. This is what we call our sizzle reel. So it's highlighting many of the films that we have transferred over the past couple years. As part of this project, our goal is to digitize our entire World War I collection for the 100th anniversary of American involvement coming up next April.
I just learned a secret. It's a honey, it's a pip. But the enemy is listening, so I'll never let it slip.
Planes line up to take part in the greatest air invasion in history by the 1st Allied Airborne Army.
Seemed almost as though the sun stood still till our free peoples, full of rage and power, heaved through the air the ponderous spear of war.
We are at our rest camp in northern Australia. The officers are playing the enlisted men.
You've got Jubilee!
Life's full of consequence, but who's scared of consequence? Let's sip the honey while it's sweet.
Allora udissi un cozzar d'armi, un saettar di spade, un tempestar di carri e di corsieri.
We interrupt this program for a special news bulletin.
Dai ridi remoti della terra, ove rifulge cocentemente il sol, ove distende bianco manto la neve, una migrante schiera di navi remigar per l'acque degli ampi oceani ed affollarsi tutte verso il magico tempio ed in quel tempio spargere a mille portentosi miracoli del genio.
From time to time, all over New England, we gather at our town halls to hammer out the public opinion in meetings like this.
War and Navy departments present December 7th.
Films that you saw in that reel are up in their full-length versions on YouTube. We've got a World War I and World War II playlist. I believe there's something like, I don't know, it's hours and hours and hours of footage as we've been digitizing these, and we add to the playlist monthly. So thank you again for coming. Thank you.
Well done. Well done. I think we should give credit to, who was your coworker who did that montage at the end with the films? That was beautifully done.
Yes. So for the project, we brought on a gentleman named Harry Snodgrass, and he is an Emmy Award-winning sound engineer. He sadly was only with us for about a year before he went back to Hollywood to continue to make amazing films.
And also, thank you to our captioner, Christine Slotsky, who's been typing as we talk. So thank you, Heidi, Chris, and Audrey, and thank you everyone for today, attending today's presentation. Please know that the presentation video is available on YouTube, and the slides will remain available. The handouts are also there. You can download them to your delight. And on behalf of the National Archives and our presenters, thank you for coming today.